Hey, the PMP exam is one of the most difficult tests for professionals, and we've heard this from everyone. But not to worry, you have a coach who eats the PMBOK for lunch. Here he is to set the record straight for you, your friend Phil.
Hello, my awesome project managers. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Lots of you are gearing up for the big finish for the exam, the PMP exam. Some of you are taking the pilot exam. Some of you are taking the current exam. Regardless the exam you're taking, I have coaching and training for you. If you're taking the current exam, you want to be on my Wednesday classes, go to pmanonymous.com, check those out. And if you're on the pilot exam, then you want to show up on Saturday. But here's the cool thing. If you sign up for the pilot exam course, you get the opportunity of coming both on Saturday for 4 hours and on Wednesday for 2 hours. For the entire month of February. We've already had one session, but you can still get the recordings for that, and you can catch up with us. So why don't you do that, okay? Now, those of you that are on the course, you do know that I sent you a challenge. No page 25. Well, today I am going to go through page 25. I'm going to give you reminders about all of the processes, okay? So in my last video, I did a brain dump, and you saw how I realized I had made an error. And I was able to find out cost management was missing one. I hope you get to that level. Now today, I'm going to go through quick descriptions just to jog your memory about each one of the 49 processes. So why don't we get started again? It's going to be very rapid. I am going to give you 1 or 2 simple reminders about what exactly you do in each process. Are you ready? Let's go. So here we are, the very first process that we can see here is DPC. I encourage you to know the acronyms because it jogs your memory and helps you remember what exactly it is. Develop Project Charter is developing a charter that authorizes the project, and it's done by a manager external to the project, and the project manager could help that manager. The next process is identify stakeholders. Remember, we are going downwards vertically in the process groups. So that is initiating right there. So we've talked about develop project charter. In identify stakeholders, we identify the stakeholders, people that the project could affect. And also, don't forget this one, people who could be affected by the project. Next, we are going into the planning process group. We start off with develop project management plan. And in this process, we are putting together all of the subsidiary plans into one master plan of sorts. Don't forget that we are assembling many subsidiary plans. The next one here is plan scope management, developing a plan for how to manage scope on the project. We get the scope management plan and the requirements management plan from there. The next is collect requirements. This is where we collect the requirements from stakeholders. The next is define scope. This is where we create the project scope statement. Remember, the exclusions, the inclusions, and the detailed deliverable description. Next, we have create WBS. This is where we get our scope baseline. So that concludes scope within planning. Next, we have plan schedule management, developing a plan for how to manage the schedule. DA is define activities, creating an activity list. Activity attributes and milestone list are the outputs. Next, we have sequence activities, linking those activities in their logical order of occurrence. We get project schedule network diagrams from that. And here we have estimate activity durations. We get duration estimates and the basis of estimates from there. And here we have develop schedule. From here we get our living, breathing project schedule. We also get the schedule baseline. Moving down, we have plan cost management, creating a plan for how to manage cost on the project. Next, we have estimate cost. creating those cost estimates. And also we get a BOE, a basis of estimates along with that. And then we move into determine budget. In determine budget, we are summing up all of those cost estimates from the previous process to get our final budget. That takes us into plan quality management, developing a plan for how to manage quality on the project. Next, we have plan resource management, creating a plan for how to manage the human resources, the equipment resources, material resources, supplies, facilities, and so on. There are two big buckets here. We have a physical resource management plan, and we have a team management plan within this resource management plan that we get from here. And then we have estimate activity resources, estimating the resources. We get resource requirements from here, and it pertains to both physical and human resources. Next, we have plan communications management, creating a communications management plan that drives communications. Next, we have plan risk management, creating a plan for how to manage risks. Then we have identify risks, identifying the risks, putting that into a risk register. And then we have plan qualitative risk analysis, analyzing the risks from a qualitative standpoint, high, medium, low, for example, across both probability and impact. Then we have perform quantitative risk analysis. That looks at the aggregate effect of risks on a project from a numeric monetary standpoint. And then we have plan risk responses, planning responses for the risks. And that takes us into procurement. We have plan procurement management, making a decision on whether to purchase something from the organization or not. And then we also have plan stakeholder engagement here as our final one in planning. All right. So that is taking us to about the 7th minute. Let's try and wrap this up in less than 12 minutes. Here we have direct and manage project work. Our major output is deliverables. We also get the issue log and WPD, work performance data. Here we have manage project knowledge. That is where we create our lessons learned register. Next, we have manage quality. That is where we assure the customer that quality standards are being met. That is also where we carry out DFX, design for X. Next, as you can see here, we have the terrific 3, acquire, develop, manage, acquire resources, develop team, manage team. Those need no introduction. Acquire resources is when we acquire the resources on the project that are needed. Develop team is when we develop our team by sending them for training, team building, and what have you. And manage team is where we give them feedback and employ great management techniques to guide them, keep them straight, and of course, great leadership techniques. It's really more of a leadership job than anything else. Next, we have manage communications, actually communicating with the stakeholders. And from here, we have project communications as an output. Next, we have implement risk responses, carrying out the responses that you planned here. This is where we carry them out. Next, we have conduct procurements, which is where we select a seller or sellers. And last but not least, in executing, we have manage stakeholder engagement, engaging with the seller, doing what we said we would. All right. That takes us into monitoring and controlling. Let's call it MC. Here we have monitor and control project work. That should be a W. Monitor and control project work is where we create the famous work performance reports. That becomes an input to PICC, the next thing that you can see here, which is PERFORM Integrated Change Control. PERFORM Integrated Change Control is the process where change requests are reviewed. Next, we have Validate Scope. That's where the customer checks the deliverable. Control Scope, that is where you prevent gold plating by checking the work to make sure that what is being done is indeed what should be done. CS is for Control Schedule, making sure that we are on track. Control Cost is where we use Earned Value Management quite a lot. From these two, we get Schedule Forecast from Control Schedule and Cost Forecast from Control Cost. Then we get into Control Quality, where we get verified deliverables if we find the deliverables to be fit for use, conforming to requirements and likely to satisfy the customer. Then we take that verified deliverable and it actually goes up to Validate Scope. So bear in mind that Validate Scope here and Control Quality here are interrelated in some way. Next, we have Control Resources, talking more about the physical resources, not about the humans. We don't control people. Next, we have Monitor Communications, making sure our communications are going according to plan. We have Monitor Risks, making sure our risk approach is working, and doing a review to make sure that those risk methods and responses are truly sensible. We also do an audit, and in our risk audit, that is where we ask those questions. Are we doing a great job or are we not? We could also do a risk reassessment where we reassess risks and ensure that they are right where we left them. Next, we have Control Procurements. Control Procurements, closing out the procurements, and we have Closed Procurements as an output. And then we have Manage Stakeholder Engagement here as our final one. I beg your pardon, Monitor Stakeholder Engagement. And that is where we make sure our stakeholder engagement plan is working. Last but not least, we have Close Project or Phase. Closing out the project or phase and getting that final product, service, or result transition. That is the major output, along with the final report. And that concludes our rapid review in 12 minutes-ish of page 25. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.